Hello, dolphins. This week we're talking about a topic that is more important than ever before: research on the internet. So, welcome to the modern age, y'all. We need options. It won't always be the case that we can go to bookstores or libraries. Sometimes you'll have to turn to the internet, and that's okay. In the past, obviously, you've had access to the Doubletree Library 5 days a week. But sometimes there's weekends, sometimes you lose your book, sometimes you don't show up to the library that week, you miss the day, you're sick or something like that. And then, there are plenty of other reasons too. So, sometimes you're just going to have to use other resources than bookstores or libraries. You're going to have to use, instead of print media, you are going to need to use digital media, the internet, whether this is online encyclopedias, random websites, or anything of the sort. And that's fine. There are a lot of great resources online. But before you go surfing the internet looking for clues, it's important to know a few things. First off, you're going to want to know how to actually make your search. Typing in your question in Google, it can be a little bit harder than it sounds. It can be tricky. You can't just type like you talk. Full sentences include a lot of trash words that Google doesn't need. Now, when I say trash words, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is really just common words like the, of, and a. Okay. Why are there trash words? How does that make sense? Well, see, here's the thing. When you're using a search engine like Google, Yahoo, or Bing, you're not talking to a person. You're putting words into a machine. The computer doesn't hear your question. It doesn't hear it like a normal person would. It reads your words, and then it just looks at web pages throughout the entire internet and tries to find pages that have as many matching words as possible. So if you type in a 9-word question, it's going to look for a web page that has all 9 of those words on that one web page. And your question, or the answer to your question, might not have those 9 words on it. So when you type in a full grammatically correct question, there are words that the engine is looking for that it doesn't actually need, these trash words. If the page you're looking for doesn't have even one of those words, it might get thrown out, or at least bumped down a few results. It might get bumped down to like the second or third, fourth search result page. So what do we need to do then? We need to pick the keywords. Cutting out trash words means knowing which words are keywords. So a keyword is a word that makes your question make sense. The most important words in it. So subjects, who, what, when, where, and why. Right? You don't need all 5 of these in any question you put down. Just, a few are fine. Just however many are actually in your question. For example, I might wonder, what is the weather like in my home region? I don't need to put anything fancy. I can literally just put weather near me, and Google knows I'm looking for what? The weather. Where? Near me. Since I did not specify a time, it's going to assume what is the weather near me now, and it doesn't need to know who or why. Okay. The results, it's gonna tell me information about what the weather is like near me. I looked it up and it's currently 50 degrees. Woohoo! So an example question, you might try to ask, what does Lil Nas X do for fun? Instead, you might want to put just Lil Nas X hobbies, okay? Getting rid of what, does, do, for, and fun cuts down on chatter and focuses the search more, right? So again, this is about making sure you're not having your web page doesn't have to have those exact words on it in order to pull it up. Now, when you're cutting, you don't want to cut out too much, right? Searching for just hobbies will turn up much more than you're looking for if you're curious about what Lil Nas X does for fun, right? So, again, it's important to cut out junk words like does and do and for when they're not really necessary to the question. When you don't need them, just, don't go too far. Hobbies is very different from just Lil Nas X's hobbies, right? Okay, so why do we worry about this? Why do we care so much about this? Why does it matter? Well, if you don't ask Google in the right way, your search results might be buried under a lot of other websites, if it makes the cut at all. Now, this is a skill that you'll develop pretty quickly, honestly. It's about figuring out how Google responds to the questions you ask, or Bing or Yahoo or any search engine. It's figuring out how they respond to it, and figuring out, oh, okay, I don't need these words, or I need to make my search more specific, right? So sometimes you will need to add more words or whatever. It's a learned skill, but it's one you want to think about sometimes. And one last thing, make sure you double check your spelling. Search engines can usually figure out what you're trying for, but if you just have a few too many letters out of place, they're going to get it really wrong. So, figuring out how to look up things is a very important skill right now, and it's only going to get more important in the future. Definitely try and make sure you're pretty good at that one. Now, here's the other thing.
Just lie? You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure the answer to Buster's question here is yeah, people absolutely do go on the internet and tell lies. So we're going to talk about that for a second. It's very important that whenever you're looking through the internet, that you're aware of the fact that the information you're reading might not be true. It might not be correct. It might not be accurate. It might even be a straight up lie on purpose. Obviously, you don't want to read bad information. You don't want to use bad information. So we're going to talk a little bit about avoiding bad information today. So, notable fake websites. I picked these three in particular because they cover the three biggest reasons why people lie. Think for just a second. Why do you think people would lie on the internet? What do you think they would get out of it? Okay, think about that for just a second. I'll tell you my big three. Okay, so the three main ones you're going to run into are people will lie for fun, like The Onion. These are harmless lies for the most part. The Onion is a joke newspaper website. They make articles that look like they are actual newspaper articles, but they're jokes. It's things like everything taking too long, and it's a bunch of interviews with people griping about their microwave taking a full 90 seconds to cook ramen or whatever, right? It's silly, it's goofy, it's nothing serious. But sometimes people read the headline and they get angry about something in it, and then they pass it on, and suddenly people are sharing a joke website like it's something serious. You'll learn which websites are mostly for fun like this. But yeah, avoid this. Don't try to report The Onion as a legitimate news source. Okay. Another one is blogs.naturalnews.com. These are blogs. This is people who they don't know what they're talking about. They just don't. They're trying to talk about natural cures and medicines and stuff. They don't actually work. There's no science to prove it. Some of them are actually harmful. They don't know any better. Some of these people they're trying to do good, but they just don't know enough. And there are a lot of people like that. They think they know a lot about a subject. They don't. Be careful, okay? If you're reading just random blogs or comments or things like that, understand they don't necessarily know what they're talking about, and you can't easily check to see if they know what they're talking about. And then there are websites where people just lie on purpose. Sometimes it's because they're trying to make people angry. Sometimes it's because they're trying to sell things. And these are ones that you're really going to have to look out for whenever you're online. There's websites like the InfoWars. They lie because they're trying to sell things and by making people angry. Okay, so there are a lot of people who lie on the internet. They do it for a lot of different reasons. Like I said, sometimes for jokes, sometimes because they just don't know any better, and sometimes because they are trying to cause harm to people or things like that. So we understand why people lie on the internet. How can we make sure of what they're doing? How can we try to avoid, bad information? Well, for one thing, you want to know what a trustworthy website looks like. There's things like Encyclopedia Britannica. There's sites like Snopes, Science.gov. There's the National Archives website, Library of Congress website, and of course, we saw this last week, the Tennessee Electronic Library. Now, what makes these trustworthy, generally speaking, is that there is an actual physical location of some kind for a lot of these websites that you could go to find the people who run them. What that means is they have accountability. It means that you can find out who's responsible for what's on the website, and you can find them and talk to them about it, right? So, anyways, these are, generally speaking, they're very transparent. They tell you what their sources are. They tell you where they get most of their information, things like that. And they're mostly about. These are obviously all nonfiction websites, right? So they're websites with just information, like the Encyclopedia Britannica is an encyclopedia. It's information about all kinds of different stuff. Snopes is a weird one. It's a website where they just sort of take various internet rumors and try to find out the truth. So they debunk. So they'll prove, oh no, that's photoshopped. Oh no, that weird rumor couldn't have happened because so and so wasn't born when that was happening. Just stuff like that. And then Library of Congress, that's just archives from the Library of Congress. You could go to the Library of Congress and find the physical items that were digitized and put to this website. Anyways, so these are examples of just some trustworthy websites. Now, you might be thinking, oh, so in order to look around the internet, I just have to find out if a website's trustworthy, and I have to memorize that and keep that in mind forever. Well, no. There are gonna be some that you just know are trustworthy because you have experience with them. But here's just a quick rule. If a website ends with .com, you want to look at those closely. There are a lot of news sites like New York Times, which can be generally trusted, again, because there's somebody on the other end of that website you can hold accountable or you can talk to. But reporters can get things wrong, and people within news organizations don't always have good intentions. It just happens. So yeah, again, news sites that end in .com are mostly fine, but if any random website that ends with .com, blogseer.com, just just random things like that, you want to double check it. Maybe if you find a couple of pieces of information that you think might be useful in your report, try and look up and see if another website also says that, and not one that ends in .com. Now, if the website ends with .gov or .org, those are usually trustworthy. .gov is a handle that's short for government, so that means it is run by a government entity, right? Science.gov. That's run by the United States government. Actually runs Science.gov. .org is usually short for organization. That means there is, again, some kind of entity out there, some kind of group behind it. Their names are all over it. You can find them, and if they're wrong, you can contact them. Now, a special note here is Wikipedia.org. It is a .org website, which generally would mean it's trustworthy, and to an extent Wikipedia is, but whenever you look at Wikipedia, you should always double check it, just because it is a public encyclopedia, which means anybody can edit it, which means you could edit an article that you know nothing about and mess it up on purpose for fun. The story I tell is there was a class in college where everyone was assigned a paper on a subject. One of the students was very fast. He found the Wikipedia article relevant to that subject. He edited it, and almost the entire class got an F because they all used Wikipedia without double checking any other resources, and they used just a lot of bad information. Don't let that happen to you. If you use Wikipedia, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to scroll all the way down to the references section. This is going to include a lot of, like it has links to Encyclopedia Online. It has some that are to physical books. Maybe you can't get a hold of those, but they do have external links. So again, Hindupedia, Encyclopedia and Hypertext, Internet Accuracy Project, just other stuff like that. So they have links to other places that you can go to look up more stuff like that, okay? So Wikipedia is, again, semi-trustworthy. You're going to want to double check the references section. So, anyways, that is the main things to deal with when you're researching online on the internet. Now here's one more thing, okay? Whenever you're looking for things online, you're going to want to give credit. If you use things that you find online, you need to still give credit for it. You couldn't take a book and write your name over the authors, right? I couldn't just pick up a copy of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, put my name on it, and try to publish it. I would get sued. You always have to give credit, and that includes, like I said, even things you get from online. Okay? If you just use images and other media, music, this could be, like I said, images, videos, things like that, you could wind up in some amount of trouble. What you want to check for? Just see if an image or media is considered fair use. That means it's free to use and you don't need to ask. If you aren't sure, you need to find the source of the image. Or media. So music, poem, etc., and try to ask permission. Again, if these are like small things, then it's probably fine, right? Then you can probably find the person. Normally they'll be happy to, especially if it's for like a report or something like that. But if it's something you're trying to make money off of, it's probably going to be a no, right? It's probably not going to be considered fair use. Don't do that. All right. Anyways, there are just lots of times where finding things online, it seems like, oh, well, it's just online, it's free. It's not. And depending on how you use it, you can get in trouble. Again, for book reports and things like that, that's mostly considered harmless. It's not really going to land you in any kind of serious issue. But there are things like once a daycare was actually sued by Disney because they painted the characters on their walls. They did not buy posters, they just painted them themselves. That was considered copyright infringement, and they were sued. So again, be careful with what you find online, be careful with what you're looking for online, and be careful with how you use things that you find online. So this was today's lesson about research on the internet. Just a quick little overview about how to phrase a question, how to figure out if websites can be trustworthy or not, and also what to do depending on what kind of information you're looking for. So copyright in this case. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed today's lesson. Make sure to be careful whenever you're looking for information online, but always be trying to look for more information. Take care. Have a great day.